Hey folks, Garrett Monroe here. In this short video, I want to talk about how to develop your concepts. And so this is an activity called concept development. This is in the latter half of the what if phase. This is the ideation phase where we're rapidly flaring or we're looking at really divergent ideas. We're trying to get as many different ideas as we can based on the research and the parameters we've established for our design project or challenge. Once we have all those ideas, the question is, how do we narrow them back down? How do we understand them? How do we sort them, categorize them? This is the point where we start casting judgment and throwing things out. We've really reserved that judgment up until this point because we just want to get as many different ideas, crazy, absurd, expensive, cheap, impossible, whatever, because more ideas tend to breed more and more innovation in ideas. Now, when you start thinking about what are the actual requirements, what are the constraints, how can we continue some play a little bit? And there's an idea in the textbook, and I want to direct you to page 113, where they walk you through how to do this really vital process called concept development. And they go through essentially the process of spreading out all your work, spreading out all the different sticky notes, all the different lists, the mind maps, the analogies, kind of reactivating it by reviewing it. You're usually doing this as a team. You're doing it live in the same room or the same space. And so you would do that. You kind of review a little bit. You take a little time to quietly walk through it. They say spreading out your Legos. And they talk about eliminating redundancies, clustering ideas next to each other, make a list of themes as they emerge. What are the big categories and themes, and indeed even establish some anchors. So what are some of the kind of must-haves, for your design requirement? And they use a metaphor here, which I'm going to build out, called making chili. And basically what I've done is I've gone through our brainstorming grids that we did last week for both groups, and I've begun to sort of categorize and play with these into a kind of mind map. And basically, the making chili table, or the chili table, takes categories that I've sort of self-sorted, and you might come up with different ones. And the idea here is the different components of chili are like the meat, the vegetables, the spices, and so forth. And then there's different computations of that. So say we wanted to make a vegetarian chili, we might just focus on, tofu instead of meat. Or we might say, we could do a turkey sausage or a beef or a pork. So here we have, comfort as one aspect, one really important category of the chili we're trying to make. And so that involves various aspects, perhaps warmth, seating, environment, feeling friendly or interesting. Light is an important part of dining, especially this time of year, especially in the evening. So we generate all these different types of lights. There are more than this, but here are some. And then, of course, another component of our chili was some sort of outdoor activity or novelty we found we wanted to incorporate as an opportunity, such as fishing, ice skating, entertainment, scenery, sports, Christmas trees, kind of cook your own, that kind of thing. Looking at lights, etc. Singing songs, and then we had other elements like being safe, socially distant. And I added convenience here as kind of a must-have, I think, for a practical business, app order, drive-up, takeout. And so the idea of making chili is building out different recipes from all the different components we have. So this is another way of doing kind of forced connections. So you might say, what if we built a concept out which took, sports viewing, such as ice skating, and we combined it with environment like downtown, and we incorporated a light show, or bring your own, and drive up. So you combine all these things and you get this, and now we would take those four components and we'd visualize them, and we'd say, what if we did, like, we flooded a street downtown or flooded a parking lot to create an ice rink. We partnered with hockey teams and ice skater groups, and we set up rink side seating around that flooded parking lot or street where people could drive up, and you could have food trucks around or various restaurants around, and people could watch from their car while there's a show going on, there's lights going on. You'd sort of create this pop-up experience for cold weather areas. We could do it in a different way. You know, in one theme, I have all these arrows pointing to fire because that seemed to be something that came up again and again, and that hits a lot of these boxes. So what if we really leaned into the idea of a big fire, big bonfires, and we forced that connection, you know, with kind of drive up, and with you know, one of these kind of like cook your own or Christmas trees, and we have a big field or parking lot where there's a lot of fire happening. People could drive up from the comfort and safety of their own car and watch, you know, entertainment or food being prepared, have multiple fires around. Either it's cooked over the fire, or you could stand up and eat kind of at a cocktail table near a fire. You could get your car close to a campfire or a bonfire, have outdoor seating there, have kind of authentic, maybe some camp food cooked outdoors, that sort of a thing. So there's different ways of sort of categorizing and playing and building, you know, forcing these connections. And that you don't want to do just one, you want to build 3 or 4 out, kind of like what I'm doing here. Feel free to take or beg, borrow, steal, whatever you want to do with these ideas. The next step is, of course, to move it into a napkin pitch. We've offered you a template, and be sure you do offer some visualization with that napkin pitch. So for now, this is a bit on concept development, one process, which could complement some of the other activities we've already done in the course. See you soon.